Hey everybody, I don't have a ton of time tonight, and I honestly don't have anything specific on my mind that I wanted to chat about, but I do like to shoot a video every night, and of course since a lot of us are stuck at home now, I'm trying to put out more videos to give everybody something to do, something to watch and enjoy. So tonight is going to be a simple feeding video. Maybe a little bit later tonight, if I got some time, we can do sort of a good night video. We can have a look at the waterfall tank or something like that as the lights are going out, but for now we are going to have to settle for a simple feeding video. This is my new world tank, and unfortunately my tilapia went and hid in the back corner as she saw me setting the camera up. Everybody else, of course, is raring to go. So let me get around there and get some food in the tank. And I think tonight we are gonna mix it up, and I'm going to use my Omega-1 Super Color Flakes. I didn't buy these because I particularly like them. I bought them because these were all that were available at the time, and I needed to get some food, and so this is what I bought. The flakes I normally use are called flakes, but I think of them more as crisps, whereas these are more like a traditional flake food, and when it goes in the tank, it just kind of spreads across the water and kind of drifts around like wet tissue paper. And I don't think the fish are overly crazy about it either. And right now we've got a ton of water sprite floating on the surface right in the middle there where I normally feed them. That's why they're all bunched up that tight. So we'll let that have a little swirl around while I go around and get everybody else fed. It really doesn't take long for them to go through all that food, does it? It's another reason I like the crisps. The crisps seem to have a little more substance to them, a little more mass to them. Again, this stuff is like wet tissue paper once it gets in the tank. Now, nutritionally, I don't know, how much it's given them as far as like a caloric intake or energy. I've never worried that much about it. I usually feed my fish a decent quality, middle of the road stuff, usually marine land or Omega-1. I try to avoid the Wardley's or the store brand or whatever. For all I know, Wardley's might be some good food, but I always see it sold at Walmart for really, really inexpensively, so I always just assumed that was a really low budget, low quality food. And I always go for, like I said, the decent quality, but not excessively expensive. I swear by the high-calorie algae wafers, which is what we're throwing in there now. I usually break them up. They're sort of round and flat, and I hold them sort of back to back like that, so the round sides are together, and then you just squeeze them, and it breaks them up into crumbles. And then that way it gets spread around and everybody gets a few. And I can put, 6 or 8 wafers in there, and it amounts to everybody gets some rather than just 6 or 8 wafers on the bottom by themselves. And of course I always try to throw a couple in that back corner in a larger condition, maybe not intact, but maybe just like broken in half or broken into thirds, and I throw them in the back corner for the tilapia, which is a vigorous plant eater, and so the algae wafers are a good treat for the tilapia. I've got that pleco on the bottom. You might be able to see it's getting ready to poke its head out right now. Dead center there in the tank. I don't know where that's positioned in the camera. It's underneath that piece of wood right now. And I also have that white suckerfish that's still in there. and that is a bottom feeding type fish. But all of the fish, as you can see by what's happening now, all of them will go down to the bottom and pick food up off of it. Even the silver dollars and the angelfish will go down and feed right off the bottom. And then of course the minnows and the creek chubs, they certainly will go down and root around on the bottom. There you can see my white suckerfish in the front there, just came out from underneath the log. It can definitely smell the algae wafers in the tank and is out looking for them. And that's a pretty substantial fish. So again, you know, 6 or 8 algae wafers going into the tank might sound like a lot, but for the amount of fish I have to feed in here and for the size of some of those fish, you know, I need a significant amount of food in the tank. Really, really happy with the way this tank is coming together. I did have someone point out that it looked like the silver dollars were nipping at the angelfish's fins, and that could be a concern. I've been trying to keep an eye on that, and so far I haven't seen any of that behavior, and the angelfish's fins all look intact and look pretty good, so I'm not too concerned about it, but that is something that is, you know, worthy of keeping an eye on. I know that the silver dollars are voracious plant eaters, and if they don't have plants to nip on all day long, they will actually get nippy towards each other, or they can get nippy towards other fish in the tank, so that is a concern. Now, the way I deal with that concern is I make sure they've always got plenty of plants to eat. If you can probably see all those roots hanging down in there, the middle section of the tank is completely covered with water sprite, which is a nice tender plant, and certainly good food for any kind of plant-eating fish like the silver dollars or gouramis, for example. Will nibble on them. I even see my guppies and live bears like platies and mollies will nibble on the roots. They're so soft and tender. So definitely good, you know, plant, good floating plant to have in there if you've got silver dollars. It helps keep them calm because it gives them some cover from above. They don't feel so exposed, you know, so the bright light's not shining right on them. And then, of course, as I said, it gives them something to chew on, which, you know, prevents them from chewing on my other fish. So, again, I'm going to let that happen for a little while. You can watch the fishies swim around. I now have to make my rounds again and go back around and feed everybody with my sinking algae wafers. Not all my tanks get the algae wafers, or at least not all of them on a daily basis. I do have some tanks that specifically have fish that feed on this type of food and feed off the bottom, and those are the ones that I focus on. But the high carry algae wafers are just good food for just about every fish. I've rarely come across a fish that doesn't eat these, even if they're not particularly plant-eating fish. So my gourami tank, my 55-gallon tank here that's got that big pleco, plus it's got those Siamese algae eaters in it, and my 40 breeder right here, which also has Siamese algae eaters in it, plus it's got some rubber lip plecos and a couple other odds and ends in there that like the algae wafers, so this tank usually gets some as well. And the loaches in my 29 miscellaneous enjoy them. The only tank that I can think of that I don't really put them in on any kind of regular basis is my gudgeon tank, because my gudgeon eats the algae, or eats the cichlid pellets, and I'm honestly not even sure what the catfish on the bottom eats. I'm assuming it eats the algae. I mean, it eats the sinking cichlid pellets that the gudgeon misses. But I don't know. A lot of times I see those pellets still sitting there the next day, so I don't know what that catfish comes out and eats during the night, but it's still in there, so it's still eating something during the night. And then, of course, my brackish tank. I don't throw the algae wafers in my brackish tank. But other than that, every tank around here actually gets these algae wafers. They're really, really popular. Alright, that is the last of them. And this tank looks like it's more or less finished feeding. So I'm going to go ahead and call that a video and say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that one. Make sure you're subscribed. And don't forget, of course, this is my 125-gallon New World tank. So thanks again, and I will see you real soon on the next one.